At this time, we would like to acknowledge the Honorable Premier, Brother David Burke. Please give our Premier a round of applause. And Honorable Dame Jennifer Smith, give her a round of applause as well. Thank you so much for your participation. So now on to the first contest, the Oratorical contest. Each bowl will be given 5 minutes to discuss the following topic. One of the statistics shared during Mental Health Awareness Month in May was that 1 in 6 people between the ages of 10 to 19 suffer from a mental health disorder. Anxiety and depression are in the top 10 causes of illnesses and disabilities among adolescents globally. And if left untreated can put a person's health at risk. What can be done in Bermuda to help eradicate the stigma of mental health disorders and encourage more young people to seek help from a professional?
Good evening. What is mental health? Mental health is the combination of your social, psychological, and emotional well-being. When mental health is brought up, people automatically think of the brain and its functions. Although, when I think of mental health, I think about therapy. Therapy is a treatment that one receives when they have a disorder that needs attention. Even though that is what people classify as the main purpose of therapy, it can help with much more. Also, it isn't just for people who are experiencing a mental disorder. It's for anyone. Therefore, to eradicate the stigma of seeking therapeutic support when an individual's mental health is in jeopardy, we must educate society that therapy isn't just for mental disorders, have families be educated on what they can do to help their loved one who is going through therapy, and have those who may be suffering from a stressful situation to seek help. My first point is that we as a society need to be educated more on therapy. Having the facts of what therapy is and what it can do would be beneficial. It's beneficial to someone living a stress-filled life. If it be at work, with family, or relationships, they may need the guidance of a therapist to navigate through the stress and/or develop coping strategies to live their best life. It can also build tolerance towards people that feel negative about therapy. My second point will be having the support and help from your family while seeking therapy. I say this because sometimes people receive therapeutic support due to family trouble. If one is going to therapy, I feel it is important that the family should seek therapy as well. The whole family should seek help because when a person comes from a toxic situation caused by the family and they become reformed, they will have to return back to the same toxic situation, which most likely cause them to relapse. Hence why I suggest that the family should seek therapy as well. Because if the family is not equipped with better skills to deal with the situation, it could cause the whole cycle to repeat itself. The third and final point I have is if a person is enduring a stressful situation, they should consider getting help. Now this help can be through a friend, but it's better to receive professional help. Here's why. These professionals are trained to help you understand what might be happening with you and give you a solution on how to deal with it. Asking for help is not always easy because as a man, we are taught to be strong and show no signs of weakness. Also to hide your feelings and emotions, but we have to retain ourselves and know that it's okay to share our feelings and ask for help. In conclusion, the best way to eradicate the stigma of seeking therapeutic support is to educate ourselves on its importance, give families information to help support the one seeking therapy, and to be able to ask for help when needed. Our goal is to be the best person we can be. Asking for help can be a phone call away to a less stressful life. Thank you.
And now, next up that we have for you is Demetrius Richardson from the Barclay Institute.
I am mentally ill. I suffer from mental health problems. From the ages of 10 to 19, those statements are true. But there is tons of stigma around mental health. In contemporary society, stigma is the attitude people often have as a mark of disgrace associated with a circumstance, quality, illness, or person. Consequently, individuals who suffer from mental health illnesses are often conceptualized as people who portray deranged behavior, and we discriminate, look bad upon, or distance ourselves away from them. Anxiety cannot be visually seen by just walking with someone in school. Depression cannot be visually seen by just walking with someone in school. Psychological unbalance cannot be visually seen by sitting with someone in class. Adolescents globally suffer from a mental health disorder. However, as prevalent as this is, persons are not seeking help. In Bermuda, this is evident. Young people suffer the most from the stigma of mental illness. As a result, it is stopping today's teens from seeking professional help. Bermuda, this is something we need to address. The accustomed reaction to observing that a person has a mental health disorder is derived from the lack of knowledge around such a sensitive topic. Research has shown that there are countless myths and misconceptions that develop throughout Bermuda about mental illness. Words defaming persons with mental health disorders from family or friends have been a result of such. There are numerous negative and biased reports about mental health issues throughout the newspapers, the news, and unrealistic projections on television. Hence, this leads the population to conjure up a bad taste to those who have been diagnosed with a disorder. Some may view those who are mentally unfit to be lazy, weak, or have no inner strength to overcome such barriers in the mind. There is no just stepping out of it. There is no just not letting it get to you. This causes society to stereotype and over-exaggerate anything pertaining to mental health. Mental illness is not a sign of weakness. Even you have a 1 in 4 chance of developing a disorder. So what can be done, Bermuda? Mental health has been a growing topic, and there are abundant organizations and overall promotion of such to educate the public about mental disorders. However, the view of mental health does not shift. Therefore, I recommend a way to make today's stigma something that is outdated. There now needs to be a means of being open and assuring to the population that being mentally unfit is implausible. Now, as it is affecting adolescents across the island, I suggest that we do something directly in the schools. Having a close quarter session with students led by a guidance counselor, directly talking to each other about their experiences and concerns about mental health would host numerous benefits. In addition to providing knowledge, I envision that this would encourage students to not only seek help, but to develop an open mind, realize that they are not alone, encourage one another to seek help, and to ensure that their actions or words do not hinder someone else's attempt to get help. Now, as a society, we must show that we care. Letting teenagers know that the island is there for them mentally would encourage them to take a step further in seeking professional help. But first, I have a challenge. Share with your neighbor, your colleague, your son or your daughter, your personal experience with mental health, and have an open discussion about it. Be vulnerable. Because your experience is vital, your words and how you say it directly molds the minds of the ages between 10 to 19. This would encourage them to become more kind-hearted to mental health. I encourage you to shift your view on mental health. It is real, and it is growing within our community. Thank you.
Give it up for Demetrius Richardson. I remember when he was in my after-school program, and to see him tonight just made my heart fill with joy, and also to see him in my basketball program, the same way he said the drum was twice the size, the basketball was twice the size of him. But he has grown. So proud of him. And next, we have Sadiq Simon from the Bermuda Institute.
As stated by the Bermuda Hospitals Board, in ancient Greece, bodily signs or stigmata were cut or burned onto people's bodies to mark them as different. Today we use the word stigma to refer to the attitude people often have towards individuals who suffer from mental illnesses. We view these individuals in a less favorable regard and negative manner. How often does our assumption change when we find out that they have schizophrenia, depression, mania, or anxiety? When we as a people criticize individuals in our community who appear to be different from our normal circles of influence, we sometimes cause them to feel rejected. We would serve our community better by being our brother's keeper and looking for ways in which we can assist those who are mentally and even socially challenged. We need to educate and arm ourselves with resources that will help to discourage negative behavior towards the mentally ill persons in our community. We need to be willing to stand alone and shut down our family members and friends when they make ignorant and preconceived comments about others. I have been in school long enough to know that students call each other names, often using titles of mental illnesses, and think it's a joke. For example, everybody knows this one. That guy's retarded, boy. Just imagine how that causes one to feel who may be suffering from mental illness. They would even feel more stigmatized than they initially did. With every action, there is a consequence, which can determine the failure or success of our young people in our community. Many people believe that mental illness is a sign of weakness, or as a result of laziness or a lack of willpower. We think that sufferers should be able to just snap out of it, and we don't take it seriously when someone opens up. This is an assumption that most of us make and do not realize it. Here's an example. A friend comes to you and says, "I've been feeling really stressed, down, and upset lately, and I feel kind of hopeless." What would you say to your friend? When people do express their feelings, we sometimes have insensitive responses such as, "Don't think about it, think positive. I know how you feel. Count your blessings." I believe all of us have used one of these phrases, including myself. I've said, "I know how you feel," believing that I was being empathetic, but according to psychom.net, although this statement is empathetic and meant to help the depressed person feel understood, it can backfire. There is a significant difference between clinical depression and sadness, which we normally have a hard time knowing the difference. There are no perfect answers when it comes to supporting friends or loved ones with depression. A question can be just as helpful as statements when the depressed person opens up. Try a few of these empathetic responses. "How can I help you during this difficult time? I'm sorry that you're hurting. Can I keep you company?" To get rid of the stigma amongst our young people, in Bermuda, we must start with the adults. After all, everything that the youth do is a byproduct of the adults in their circle, and I mean everything. First, meetings and information sessions need to be held in places of work to inform all employees about the seriousness of mental illnesses, and that it should not be taken lightly. In April of this year, the Department of Health put on an initiative, Commit to Change, to encourage healthy living, emotionally, mentally, and physically, in one's personal and professional settings. One of the workshops held was on mental illness in the workplace. There are organizations in our community that provide training to staff on how to identify signs of mental illnesses and how to safely approach one suffering from it. Future mandatory workshops should be held by the Bermuda government and private businesses. Employees should be given homework in the form of a pamphlet about everything that was shared in the workshops, and have them share it with their children. They should also be required to hand in the pamphlet to their supervisor on the next working day with their child's signature. If they fail to hand in said homework, their pay should be deducted. Just kidding. For those who do not have children, they should be required to discuss it with another family member. I believe that in order for anything to change Bermuda, the change must start in the homes. Adults must lead by example and train their children to be caring, loving, and productive members of their community. Also, if your mental health concerns impair your ability to maintain daily functioning, then you need to ask for help. This is not a matter of shame or pride, but rather a quality of life. The change starts here, and I am here to help the initiative. Thank you, and thank you for listening.
Well done, Sadiq. Let's give Sadiq another round of applause. Up next, we have Antonio Carvalho from Impact Mentoring Academy.
That joke is for him only. Even though, by giving this question, it's really sad that kids have to go through depression and anxiety. Like me, I have to go through mental health issues, and anxiety and depression is top 10 causes of it. Tonight, I'm going to help you guys understand that we should, as a country, help our youth to feel like they are not just outsiders. They don't have to feel like they don't have to seek help. Then I'm going to give you some ideas as us as Bermudians can help them. One way to reduce mental illness related stigma is to having a talk. Back then, it used to be that cancer was the taboo of the talk to not have because of how personal it can get. Cancer was the bad talk about through open and honest conversations. Cancer became destigmatized. The more we talk about mental health conditions, the more normalized it becomes. Starting the conversation is the first step because it helps us solve something. Then the next thing is to be respectful with your language. And what I mean by that is that words can be meaningful and helpful at the same time. We just need to know how to keep that calm energy together so that they can get through this. For example, at my school, we have this thing called circle time. And it's specifically designed to bring out something that has happened today that was bad and to address it in a calm, friendly manner. Another way is to start supporting. Supporting other people can be challenging, especially when you don't understand their struggle. It's hard to know what to say, and sometimes it can feel like a lot of pressure, but your support can have a life-saving ending. Changes as feeling support is one of the most essential aspects for every person in recovery. And I certainly believe that mental health is a huge issue in this world. And if you have a loved one or just a close friend, I believe that you should send them to a professional for help. It is a huge deal that you need to send a professional, and I know that doing that will be hard for you, and you know that they'll get the attention they need. I myself have suffered with anxiety. It's not a good thing at all. To the point where I even passed out on the football field. I was thinking, am I gonna die? Am I not gonna see my parents again? But it was to the point where my heart was beating too fast in my body, and I just collapsed. For me to talk about this in a public opening can help open up doors for other people that is going through this. Thank you. Have a good night.
Well done, Antonio. Next, we have Takeo Beamlight from Mount St. Agnes Academy.
Health. A crucial building block to a long, successful life. In Buddhist culture, the strengthening of physical and mental health is what is needed to reach nirvana or total enlightenment. However, in today's society and culture, unlike physical health, mental health has been highly neglected by most of the population, and many cases have been left untreated in the millennial and Gen Z generations. Why? Because there is a stigma created around getting therapy for mental health and disorders. I believe that there are 3 distinctive factors that aid in formulating and strengthening this stigma. Firstly, the lack of government involvement. Our government does not seem to care as much about our mental health as it does our physical health. For example, the sugar tax. A government-mandated tax that strives to ensure the physical well-being of Bermudians by raising the price of sugary goods, hoping that it will be a deterrent. We can compare this to the high prices for therapeutic care. Instead of having increased price to assist in change, this high price prohibits the community from receiving benefits from mental health. And it also doesn't allow for members that are less fortunate to be able to seek the therapy that they need. Secondly, the questioning of validity of mental health issues in today's youth. One common saying in my generation that we hear a lot is, "You aren't old enough to feel stress," or "You do not know what real sadness is like." I believe that this comment is derived from a lacking of understanding of how the world is changing. Each generation has their stressors. In the previous generations, there were stressors such as the house market crisis, the Great Depression, World Wars I and II, and these are all valid stressors and will cause mental strain. However, this generation has its stressors as well. This generation has an increasing amount of student debt. It is aware that the resources that we have been taught to grow up on and rely on, such as coal and fossil fuels, are depleting. And it is more aware of the extinction rates and the deaths caused by natural disasters and global warming. I believe that these are adequate stressors. And through globalization and the development of social media, we are getting this information, this bad news, at a younger age, leading to earlier cases of disorders such as depression. For example, if I were to say there is an 80-year-old man that has been working a desk job for 40 years, and he says, "My back hurts," then I take a 30-year-old man that has been working construction for 15 years, and he also says, "My back hurts." Are they both valid? Yes. Both of these instances are valid, even though they have different time periods and different circumstances. And finally, pride. Bermuda is a small, close-knit society where everybody knows everybody and everybody sees everything. I remember one day after I got my bike, my mama said, "You best not speed, and if you do, oh no, I'm got eyes everywhere." You know what happened? I got home the next day. "Oh, Aunt Carla saw you riding. She said you look very nice." It is this close-knit society that causes the hesitation about getting treatment for ourselves or our children, because nobody wants to be that mother that has to admit that their son needs therapy. Nobody wants to be that father that wants to admit that their daughter has depression. It is our pride that prohibits us from seeking help, even if we are aware. And when something is left neglected, it has room to get worse. If not caught earlier, a simple sadness for a time of loss or a loss of a parent can lead to crippling depression. For example, if I were to say that I know I have a cancerous cyst, would it not be better to act immediately? Or would I let the pride of knowing that I have a cancerous cyst and not wanting anybody else to know, let it linger on and become a more pressing issue in the future? In conclusion, I believe that to eradicate the stigma around seeking help from therapy for mental disorders is to encourage more government involvement, to appreciate that the struggles that the youth go through today are valid and are real, and to consider the well-being of ourselves and our children over the social pressures and societal pressures that we have on ourselves to look good. Thank you.
Let's give it up for Takeo.
Come on, give a round of applause for all of our contestants. With that said, we actually have a member, Honorable David Burke, if you could come and just give us your remarks at this time. Please give him a round of applause, our premier, as he comes.
They didn't tell me I'll be speaking at the oratorical contest. It's a little bit of pressure, especially with all that clap when someone said something about the sugar tax. I'm now going to give my remarks, and I hope that I will speak as well as the 5 young men who just finished speaking. Good evening. It is a pleasure to be here tonight to offer brief remarks at the 18th annual Alpha Beautillion. Tonight, we celebrate 5 young men who over the past 6 months have committed themselves to furthering their development. Takeo Beamlight, Antonio James Carvalho, Sadiq Simon, Miles Smith, and Demetrius Richardson. Yes, you can clap. Since its inception, the Alpha Beautillion has been a cornerstone community event, produced by the Epsilon, Theta, Lambda chapter of my fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. We have seen dozens of young men complete the program, including a large number of the active brothers of this chapter. And as we have just witnessed, these young men are full of intellect and confidence. As a member of the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, I am filled with pride to see the fruits of the countless hours which have been invested to equip these young men to be future leaders and positive contributors to our society. And as Premier of Bermuda, I am warmed to know that positive seeds have been planted. These young men are the next generation of leaders who will assume the roles of doctor, lawyer, business owner, supreme entertainers, and hopefully one day, my job, Premier. As a relatively, and I have to say relatively because I've crossed the age of 40, as a relatively young black man, I am proud to see these young black men displaying such positive qualities that can dispel many elements of the negative narrative that is perpetuated by some. In closing, I would like to say that it would be remiss if I did not congratulate the president of the chapter, Dr. Timothy Jackson, and the many alphas who have contributed to ensure this evening was a success. To the parents, family, supporters, and fellow students of these 5 talented young men, we know that it takes a village to raise a child and to support young men. We congratulate and thank you for all of your investment in help, time, energy, and moral support to ensure that these 5 young men are on the path for success. So give yourselves a round of applause. We look forward to these young men taking their rightful places in our society in the coming years. Thank you for your attention, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of the evening.
Beautiilion and Vallis may be known as one of Bermuda's largest distributors, but you may not know they have been big supporters of the Alpha Beautillion. Each year, the Alpha Bows visit the Vesey Street location to see how products are distributed island-wide. Upon arriving, they are given a tour of the facility and then are partnered with warehouse staff. They then get hands-on experience in filling orders, finding products, and packing the trucks for the road. It was pretty labor-intensive and involved a lot of lifting. They didn't seem to mind getting their hands dirty while they learned how hundreds of products are delivered island-wide.
Hey everybody, welcome to Beautiilion and Vallis. Takesha Atwell, HR strategist for the company. This is our 4th year of entertaining the Alpha Beautillion program and seeing the young man come through and see our warehouse. It's been a great experience so far. They're out at work, so we'll see how they're making out. We're just glad to be able to support the program for the 4th year in a row. So all the best on your ceremony night and getting it done.
Let's all give Beautiilion and Vallis a round of applause for supporting the Alpha Beautillion.